let's do a little more of the board. Before we do that, let's listen to this.
9428. I'm on board at block 7234, or sorry, block number 7234, bus number 3056 at 82nd and Yam Hill. Individual went to get on. He was asked for fare. He ended up spitting on me. So let's put out a do not board on him. I don't need medical or anything. I'm good.
Okay.
All right. There's enough of that because we already fares, spitting. Whoever that is handled it like a man. He didn't freak out and get hysterical and want to sign off work. But it's a well-known fact that fares lead to assaults. So I don't know why anybody in their right mind bothers with that, because it makes no sense at all to me that you would shill for the company that really doesn't give a shit about you. I'm sorry if you don't believe me, but you're just labor to them. You're just labor. You're expendable labor. Okay, that's why they took away your defined pension. That's why they cut our great health care. That's why your work shifts are horrible. That's why your schedules are horrible. When they fix all that shit, maybe you can give them some of your, respect. But in the meantime, why would you put your life on the line for a fare? It's completely absurd. It's just ridiculous that you'd waste your time and energy on that because you feel slighted. You feel like that person is getting over on you. That person isn't thinking about you at all. They're trying to get out of paying the $250 for whatever reason. Most likely they don't have it. You listen to their survey. They said, well, most people think that they're trying to get away with it. They're lying, man. People that don't pay the fare are not people that have a hell of a lot of money. All right. These are poor people that you're driving around. Very poor people stuck on the bus. Leave them alone. Drive them and forget it. Now let's get back to this ridiculous Mickey Mouse show of these disconnected elites pretending they know anything, and you're stuck, and they better be hoping that Republican doesn't win that election, which I'll be shocked if they do. But that would be a big problem for TRIMET, wouldn't it? To have a Republican governor, since the governor controls TRIMET. So that will be an interesting race. Okay. They already had their board meeting, so I guess they're having a safety and security presentation starring Bonnie Todd. Sorry, that's an inside joke.
I was bringing my computer up. Sorry about that. President Simmons direct.
His head really shines. Look at that shine. He must wax that, huh? What do you think? Wax his head. Put some wax up top there.
There's the COVID-19 pandemic laid bare many issues.
The COVID-19 scamdemic laid bare. Let's get that straight. It was a scamdemic in which the elites transferred to themselves trillions of dollars out of the pockets of the poor and the middle class, and destroyed your business. This is a scamdemic. Sorry, folks. I'm not hysterical. I'm not a Trumper. I'm not a right-winger. I just know the truth. Okay. All those things they had us do were for nothing. And we're still in the goddamn pandemic, as a matter of fact. People are still dropping like flies. You hear it on the scanner. Okay, people are getting sick constantly.
In our community. We've seen an uptick in vandalism, criminal activity.
And that's got to do with the expropriation of the wealth by the elites. Crime is directly related to poverty, okay? I don't know why people can't understand that. It's proven. Yet I hear so many people that, they just don't have any heart. They just don't understand the reasons behind some of this behavior that's happening here. So immediately they jump to, let's put them all in jail, put everybody in jail. The biggest prison colony in the world is the United States of America. And these people are hollering to send more people to jail. This is how fucked up our fucking society is, folks.
Assaults on our operators, on other staff. We've seen assaults on our customers. Nuisance issues.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. This is called a collapsing civilization, folks. That's what happens when you collapse a civilization. What's he got here? Hold on. Oh. Let's see what you got here now, man. Okay, just a sec.
9107. 9107. Just FYI for you, on Burnside, they're doing the construction.
That's the same thing I keep sending you the same.
There's
something wrong with these iPhones. I'm having trouble making calls, and I keep getting messages over and over.
Bring an explosion in our houseless crisis. Right now, we've had mental health challenges that we're faced with.
Yes, and we're going to have brand new Wheelervilles, cheered on by the lunatic fringe who thinks everybody's a criminal. And they're all going to put them in a goddamn concentration camp against their will. Because they can't give them a housing voucher. No housing vouchers. We got $1 billion in taxes from the public who tried to help with this crisis. And but we're not going to do even one housing voucher. We're going to do this scam called affordable housing, which is how the developer elite steal your tax money under the guise of solving homelessness. And as you can see, it hasn't solved homelessness at all. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And people don't connect the dots there either.
And then a skyrocketing use of illicit drugs that are out there. As our transit system moves from neighborhood...
The war on drugs, a real success story, folks. When Nixon brought that in, he said it on tape. He said it on tape. We have his voice. He says, we need to get these blacks and leftists under control. Let's use the drug war. Let's pretend there's a drug war, and then we'll use it against the minorities and the people that are demonstrating against Vietnam. It's always been a fraud. Americans, they don't know. There's, got to be the dumbest population in the world we have here.
To neighborhood, what is happening on our streets and the 3 counties we serve has spilled over onto the transit system. Through it all, TriMet continues our efforts to provide safety for our riders and our employees. But the mounting challenges made it clear that a new approach was needed. I'd like to bring in our Chief Operating Officer, Bonnie TODD, and our Safety and Security Executive Director, Andrew Wilson, who've played a critical role, both of them, and they've spearheaded this new approach. So I'll turn it over to you.
Well, let me take this call. I'll put...
Thank you.
Well, no, let me finish this up. Bonnie TODD!
So,
Bonnie
good morning,
TODD!
President Simmons and members of the board. Back in January, when I first joined TriMet and moved to Portland, it was immediately clear to me that the city had changed from years earlier when I had spent time here. What I saw was a city and transit system now struggling with the issues we had usually attributed to much larger cities and transit systems, like those in Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. With many of those Portland city issues spilling over onto the TriMet transit system, despite the agency's best efforts, we took some key actions that are creating positive outcomes, but much, much more work remains to be done. In today's security update,
Chief Operating Officer,
Andrew and I will be
Wilson,
talking
Executive
about
Director.
those actions, including the formation of an executive steering committee.
A committee! We have a committee, folks. We have another committee. We love our committees. Yes, we have a committee. God damn.
Working groups that have been established and their efforts, concurrent activities helping to improve security and improve the customer experience.
Yeah, customer experience. Come on, Bonnie.
increases in presence on the system this year, including increases even since Andrew reported out to you about this matter in the August board meeting. And you'll hear more about the work of our safety response team as we're joined by a member or two of the team near the end of our presentation. So I think we need to go to slide 3. Thank you. So earlier in the year, under the direction of General Manager Dessou, I formed an executive steering committee on
another committee, executives. Didn't she just say this?
Security, along with Andrew and myself, General Counsel Shelley Devine, Human Resources and Labor Relations Executive Director Kim Sewell, and Public...
You got all those executives. The executives are on a committee, and we're going to figure this out, folks. Yeah.
Affairs Executive Director J.C. Venata.
Oh, Venata, there's a real useful guy, Venata. He doesn't know shit about shit.
And we work together to identify the issues happening not only on our system, but in the wider community that were affecting our abilities and capabilities to provide service. It became a long list of items we identified, upwards of 60 to 80 items with varying levels of impact. At first glance, many of the things that we identified seemed out of our control, but on a deeper dive, we determined we could affect the impact of many of them. We also very quickly and kind of sadly realized
nothing is out of your control. You could have security, armed security stationed at every transit center or every major transit center. You can have safety response team, a mobile safety response team for the west side, for the central district, and for the east side. But you don't do that. You have these gangs of people, like 10, 15 people running around like a gang doing these missions, which is completely inefficient.
Realized that there was no one magic wand or silver bullet to fix everything and make immediate progress
of course there is.
Quickly.
Of course there is. I just told you.
We needed to approach it like eating an elephant, literally one bite at a time.
Yeah, sure.
So we created
So here we have a bureaucracy that's making it much more complicated than it actually is.
Problem statements that then turned into those specific issues I mentioned, which we then took and organized into 4 categories. We established working groups and assigned responsibility for each of the categories. The charge of these working groups was to analyze the issues.
The working groups, the working committees. The committee formed subcommittees. We have 5 committees that are formed out of the one committee. We're going to sit in a room, just like me, and we're going to figure this out because we're 6-figure executives.
To find the ways that provide more and most effective outcomes. The 4 working groups were and are system condition, support matters, passenger and public conduct, and external issues. We handpicked upwards of 40 employees from across the agency to participate in the working groups.
Okay.
Those we feel are well suited to lead others in addressing the issues.
We want leaders. We need leaders. How about just regular fucking people? You don't need leaders. You just need regular people to give you their opinion, and you need to implement them. You're the one that needs to implement the rank and file's ideas. You don't need any fucking leaders, okay?
Adding unique skills, knowledge, and out-of-the-box thinking to the working groups.
Oh, God.
The working groups are identifying short-term and long-term opportunities to pursue. So I'd like to focus in on each of them. Slide 5, please. So for system condition, this relates from our definition to the state of cleanliness and repair on our system, our vehicles, and our passenger facilities. As conditions in the community have changed with increases in activities like vandalism, we need to realign ourselves to be able to be more responsive to address damage, graffiti, litter, and biohazards that make the system look and feel dirty.
Look at this guy here. He's just stoic. This is a man who knows how to be an executive. I've heard him speak. He's very polished.
That's not the impression we want our customers to walk away with. Being able to do more and more often without significant increases in resources, all while our employees are concurrently feeling less safe out there doing their work, presents big challenges that require unique solutions.
She's reading it off too. She's reading it. How come you don't have this material mastered?
adjusting schedules, reevaluating and aligning processes, and providing additional training, we believe we can find ways to address issues more quickly, basically returning it to the desired condition.
Yeah, here's what you do, okay? Here's what you do. First of all, you tell operators to stop saying anything about fares. You want to have your mobile fare inspectors out there doing fare checks on buses. Have them out there doing the fare checks. Don't put the bus drivers in charge of this. Don't have them stop asking for fares. I just played that for you.
Faster to improve the customer experience. Slide 6. The next group is the Support Matters group, and this group focuses on better supporting employees through enhanced employee assistance, with some other things thrown in. But from
once you get your barriers in there, you're good. The ones that will work, we're not going to have these problems, okay?
Training to mental health support or just showing care and compassion, all of it has a major impact. We need to best support our employees, of course, because we value them and it's the right thing to do. But we also need to preserve our workforce and reduce attrition related to these new stressors faced by our frontline employees daily, and sometimes even repeatedly in a day. Particularly, we are asking ourselves and our employees how we can better support them with a focus on our operators and all of our frontline public-facing employees. Standard procedures across the board, as well as training, must be analyzed and adjusted with the current environment in mind, keeping the safety of our employees front of mind and top priority. We're also working specifically to find additional avenues for our employees, and I think we were a little surprised at how challenging this is for them to have greater outside and professional support specific to the types of situations that they are regularly encountering, many of which are scary, emotional, and often even traumatic. We want to have options for that support and have our employees get that support as quickly as possible.
Yes,
Next
Bonnie.
slide.
That's lovely, Bonnie.
With the external issues group's work, we've identified their need to focus on key relationships with our partners. What we want to do is improve those relationships for better coordination as we work through the new challenges on our system. Together we can and have already been, as you'll hear later, pursuing coordinated approaches to address social issues, damage to our infrastructure, and even camps that block access to transit, as well as nuisance and security issues. We're also reviewing and updating our third-party agreements to make sure that the obligations of others are met so that we have all contributors working to keep our transit system safe and welcoming.
Yeah, great, lovely.
While we cannot change the wider challenges in the community when it comes to violence, houselessness.
Look at what is this? Explore technological. What the fuck is that got to do with this? See, this is the problem with your technocracy here. This has got nothing to do with that. Okay, effectively communicate and enforce. Yeah, stop having your drivers deal with fares. God, Jesus.
Mental illness and drug use. We can evaluate the TRIMET code and how we communicate to better address passenger and public conduct on and near the system. And when I say communicate, I mean communicate our requirements to our passengers. Yeah. The ordinance that was discussed earlier is one of the efforts identified that can hold people accountable for their behavior while riding TRIMET. Communicating expectations, enforcing rules, and exploring technology that can help are all important in addressing this category of issues. All 4 working groups are currently tackling the low-hanging fruit opportunities that they've identified that can be pursued relatively quickly or easily, that will have give us the biggest bang for the buck quickly, and have positive outcomes while we also concurrently address the more complicated efforts. All of the efforts by the working groups are happening in parallel to our day-to-day security efforts, and this is important. I don't want you to think that we've just gone and talked about it for months and not done other things. We've actually done quite a bit of work.
Yeah, well, good, because that's what it sounds like. You've been talking about this shit since Kelsey. Okay, this has been going on for more than 2 years. Remember the Blue Ribbon Committee that Mr. Canada started? He got all of his buddies from around the country, paid them to come over here and pretend they know what they're talking about.
making a lot of headway. So the next slide will show a list of some of those accomplishments, which include major cleanups we've done and maintained, some in coordination with the City of Portland, such as the work along our right-of-way.
Oh, they increased security officer wages, but guess what? They didn't increase yours. They didn't increase bus operator wages. They gave you inflation, and you lost money. You got a 7.5% increase, and official figures are 8%. The actual figures are more like 20% cost of living increase.
Old Town area. We're in the early but promising stages of effectively starting up a 24-hour, what we call rapid response center.
Okay.
Providing quicker and more streamlined responses to security.
All right, there you go. There's something. Yeah, I like that one. There's a good one there. Okay, that's if you actually do it, that makes sense. Okay, there's one recommendation that makes sense.
And facilities matters such as biohazards and vandalism.
Good, yeah.
We envision.
Yeah, remember they had cleaners. Remember during the scamdemic, and they fired them all. They fired all the cleaners, and now they need them more than ever because of all these biohazards. But TRIMET fired all the cleaners after they got done pretending that they were doing anything. What a shit show.
That this will turn into a more formal and more sophisticated security response desk, as many larger transit agencies have. I'm very proud.
There are no transit agencies that I know of that are doing a very good job with this. Yeah.
The work done to date, the level of enthusiasm by the leaders on the Executive Steering Committee, the great response by the leaders of the working groups, and of course the fantastic contributions of the working group members. It would take me hours to go through all of the work that we have done. In fact, we spent 5 or 6 hours going over it with General Manager Dessous. At the same time, the importance of these other efforts of many others across the agency to get critical initiatives going concurrently can't be overstated. So with that, I'm going to hand it off now to one of those leaders, Andrew Wilson, to share some of this.
A leader! Okay. A leader. We got the leader. Yeah, he's a leader. All right, enough of this. I hope you enjoyed it.